You know he wasn't real because they never found a body.
Even Corey laughed at that.
Awfully convenient.
If he was real.
That's funny. I honestly had so much fun watching videos for this.
Did you?
Like I was cracking up. I was at home alone. I was doing I was studying for my MIP course, while also listening to some of these videos, and I found it very hard to focus on my MIP material because, for those of you who don't know what that stands for, it's not minor in possession. It's ministerial internship program.
Yeah.
Okay, just in case Corey keeps us in here.
I was gonna say.
I was studying for my MIP program.
So yeah, I was watching videos over the topic that we're going over today, and I'm literally just cracking up while I'm also reading the book that I sent you guys. It was hilarious. That's really, really funny. Fun stuff. But yeah, the topic we're going over today is...
Simulation theory.
Sorry, I think I was too loud.
Simulation theory.
There we go.
Actually, this topic, so, I don't know, it was like however many weeks ago now that we decided to come up with this. There were some vacations happening and things, but actually I was talking to somebody who used to listen to the podcast and hasn't kept up on it. But anyways, they're like, you should talk. Have you guys talked about simulation theory? And like, no. Why would we talk about that? But it was after the last one we did. What was
the other theories one?
Yeah, the conspiracy
theories. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what made them
Which
think about it.
one?
I'm like, we haven't done that. Like, you should talk about simulation theory, which I didn't realize how big it was until I started looking into it.
The simulation theory?
Yeah.
I
Prominent people. But the other one's prominent people who make decisions in the world don't believe the birds aren't real. But
this is true.
But
Don't know.
But in this one, like, they actually try and I don't even know.
Here's the problem with this theory. It is so much not in their beliefs, but it is so much like Scientology in that people were watching way too much science fiction. They were reading way too much science fiction. And they're like, let's make a religion out of it. What's the movie? Matrix,
The
right?
Matrix.
Let's
so
rip the title off and just slap a
let's
theory onto
explain
it.
what simulation theory is.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay, so you want to explain what simulation theory is?
David should.
Okay.
Simulation. Oh, it's pretty complicated. Basically, all reality is a simulation.
And that's the theory.
I mean, it does get a little bit more intricate, really. But yeah, basically, we are a simulation of a higher life form, right? And so, like, coding goes into what I would consider a computer system. And we're just a bunch of ones and zeros, and they're observing to see how the ones and zeros play out. And so, yeah, right. Like, so we're not actually real. And I was telling David about this. I was like, whoever the higher life form is that just put us into a computer, I don't like them because, like, I'm nearing middle-aged, skinny white guy who, you know,
You got it so rough.
doesn't make doesn't make a ton of money. Like, you could have given me a better code, you know? Like,
Well, so there's more that goes into that too. So one of the guys I was listening to today says some people play the hero in their story, and some people are just pawns.
hold it. So who's the hero in our story?
Well, you
But
would be.
as Christians, we would call the hero Jesus.
Oh, so he's the
But
hero and we're pawns.
But nobody that believes in simulation theory is a Christian.
Right, no.
So they don't think it's Jesus.
There's at least one.
You know, we talked today about some stuff,
Stroking brusher.
and he's like, "So you don't really believe it's real?" And I'm like, "Hold it,
No,
what?"
I said you don't believe it could be real. The
Okay.
possibility.
Okay.
And I'm like, "Hold it, what?" But then we had to stop talking about it so we could get into tonight. But
there was an interview. I think it was an informal interview. Somebody just happened to jot it down. But Elon Musk himself said there is a 1 in 1 billion chance or something like that. I think it was 1 billion. He said that this is the actual reality. And
Yeah,
he
that's what
believes
I'm
that
saying.
all the
Like-
rest of them.
Because when you start looking at it, if we create the technology to make a simulation to where you can plug into it or observe it or whatever, and you can make millions of those, that technology exists. You've just seen it. So the odds of you being the real one and not a part of another simulation.
Yes,
drops
but
off.
inside of video games, inside of Sims, inside of all sorts of different coding, there is no physical aspect to it whatsoever. You can
Yet.
literally
That's
run
the
through
point.
walls in some games.
Yeah, yet.
Clipping, glitching, messing.
Yeah.
We're just a more advanced simulation than The Sims.
Because
I-
the higher life form has.
Hold on, can you imagine? Somebody creates us. We create Sims, and we create a game inside of Sims. So we're playing Sims while they're playing Sims.
Like
It's
Dwight
just
Schrute.
layers.
Dwight Schrute. His character makes a character in the game. Like,
Oh man. So yeah, Elon Musk said that, and then
Well, that's what I'm talking about when I was saying like influential people.
yeah,
Like Elon Musk doesn't believe the birds aren't real, but he actually believes that this is a possibility, and that's what's crazy to me. That
not
I
just a
didn't-
possibility, but a very likely possibility.
Yes, a very
yeah.
like a probability.
Yeah.
Like there's a high probability. And to me that's what's weird, that somebody with his intelligence, whether you like him or not, but with his intelligence and charisma and ability, is like, it's possible. I'm like,
do you think we'll ever have the technology to where you could put a VR set on or something that could trick your brain into believing what you're playing is real, even momentarily? Do you think we'll ever, where your senses, do you think that's ever going to be possible?
I think it happens already. If you put a VR mask on and you get on like a roller coaster ride or something like that, because you've been on a roller coaster ride before, when you experience that drop,
Well,
your brain
so-
sends things to your
so
body.
Then how
This
do you
is
not know
real.
you're doing it right now then?
Because it's constant. I can
Okay.
feel you.
Right.
If I stick my nose up to your neck, I can smell you. I can get all of the
Awkward.
okay.
Which I wish you would stop.
That's a bit weird, Jeremiah.
Past my shoulders.
If- the thing is that it's constant. When you're in a virtual reality, it's sorry, I don't want to back off my mic. When you're in a virtual reality, it's like momentary, and then all of a sudden your brain snaps in. It's like, oh wait, that was fake.
Right. So how do you know it's not momentary now and it just feels like it's going on?
Because
for
it's
eternity?
gonna happen
But the
until
thing
we
is,
die.
though, is like, so this is the thing, right? We reference the Matrix a lot, but the Matrix technically isn't simulation theory. And Hayden and I had this conversation last night. So you explain it, because he actually corrected me, because I was thinking
Oh.
simulation theory is
the Matrix.
the Matrix,
Yeah.
basically, but
Right.
it's not.
So, for simulation theory, we exist in a computer. Already, we were just made in a computer.
Right.
We
In
are a
the-
program.
In the Matrix, you can be put in a computer and taken out of a computer. So it's not the same
Mm.
thing.
That's
You
true.
can leave whenever.
I couldn't tell you the last
Which-
time I watched that movie.
My argument is, you see some people around town, I told Darren, that look like they're computer programmed. Like they're ghoulish almost.
Oh, I was thinking dead eyes, but not
Yeah.
ghoulish. But you know.
Ghoulish to me, just walking around.
Don't do drugs, kids.
I told him, yeah, some people maybe, but then there's that one person in Walmart that's just beating the snot out of her kid, screaming and hollering. That's not so much simulation. That's reality.
That's someone who's snapped in this
It's a harsh reality. So here's the other thing with the in the video I was watching today, he personally said he believes it's about a 50-50 chance that we're in a simulation versus this is reality, right? And the problem with his explanation is that his explanation for it being 50-50 was that we can't disprove that we're in a simulation.
Which, though,
Right.
if you do that, though, like if you go that way, then like Christianity and Jehovah God and Jesus, we can't disprove Jehovah isn't there.
Yeah.
That God isn't there.
So they should
then
have
it's-
just as much
So they
faith
should have
in-
just as much faith in the fact that, well, it's 50-50 chance, so
Yeah.
we can believe this. But they'll deny that emphatically.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, we're in a computer. They're like, well, it could be real because there's 50-50 chance because we can't disprove it. Well, then
Yeah.
that has to apply to literally everything that you do.
Exactly.
Like, the sky is purple. You can't disprove the fact. Like, you couldn't disprove. We made up the colors though. Like, we made up the colors. So how do we know that over the last 3,000 years we didn't swap the colors on accident and originally the sky was purple?
Yeah.
You can't disprove that because you have no proof that like originally it wasn't called purple and we changed it.
Well, there is more to that too, though, because like, I mean, obviously we have different variations of color blindness and stuff like that too, right? But how do you know that when I look at blue, you're seeing that blue the exact same way that I'm seeing it?
Did you ask me this once already? Somebody asked this, and this like messed with
So,
my
like,
brain.
I know we've talked about it before. I think.
I may be looking at the color blue, right? And to me, the blue looks like what you would call purple. Okay, but I have seen this as blue my entire life. People have called this blue forever. So how do we know? There's no way of proving that my blue is the same as your blue,
I feel like that's just a perspective.
But your shirt is
which
blue,
is the exact
right?
same
Your
thing as
shirt
this.
is blue.
But
Yes,
to him,
but what I'm saying
he
is
would agree with you because it's blue.
I would agree because I've seen this as blue my entire life.
But what if somebody saw it as purple?
If I called it blue, and they've seen
Oh,
purple
because we
as
would each have a
what I
different.
call blue their entire life,
Right.
it would still be blue, but they would see it as what I would call purple, and they would call it blue because they've seen purple as blue for their entire life.
Basically, it doesn't matter. Like, if you saw blue as orange and I saw it as purple, we both have the same thought of, yeah, that's blue.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Exactly.
So I get you.
So again, there's no way to prove that. Just like
Dude,
there's
my
there's
brain
no
just
way to
like-
prove that. See, that's the problem with that. There's no way to disprove simulation theory, but there's no way to prove simulation theory. If we're in a simulation, there's no way to prove that we're
So
in
what
it.
kind
So
of
it
proof
might
would
not
you
be true. It
need?
might be true.
What kind of proof would you need?
I don't know.
I don't even think it's possible to have proof. There'd be no way to prove unless like there was just, like somebody just like pressed whatever button on the keyboard and started typing stuff in the sky saying you're in a simulation.
Well,
You
yeah, that
know?
would be. But again,
Like,
that's what would have
command,
to
whatever,
happen.
boom, boom, boom. Like,
That's what
you
would
know,
have
Walk in
to
the room and see
happen.
Jeremiah just walking into the wall.
forward / God mode and then like,
Part of the style starts glitching black and green. That's exactly what would have to happen, though, for everybody in the world to believe that God exists, though.
right.
It's literally people come up with these theories because they're so against the fact that God is real. They won't admit that God is real because God comes with rules. Well, simulation theory doesn't come with rules. We can do whatever we want, and there's no repercussions. We're a
Because
simulation.
we're just coding. We're just ones and
Exactly.
zeros.
But so much of what they believe is the same idea as Christianity with God.
Well, technically,
Similar.
technically, the higher being that created our coding would be considered God.
Exactly.
Right? But the
And then you
problem
tie it in
with
with
that-
Mormons, too, though.
But the
So,
problem with that, though, is like,
everybody can have their own simulation.
so when you start really looking into simulation, there's a couple things. First off, simulation theorists believe that a simulation can create a simulation, right? So we might be a simulation in a list of 1,000 simulations,
yeah.
right? So
More like millions, probably.
probably more like millions.
That actually is so much like Mormon religion.
But it is.
Oh my gosh.
But when you think about it,
just connected those
so
dots.
what we would consider God is just a simulation.
Yeah.
And what
Somebody
they would
else's
consider
simulation.
God is somebody else's simulation. And so until you finally get to the original creator, and then maybe that is the God.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so in that instance, who you think is your creator isn't really your creator because
They have.
I
a
mean
creator.
they are, but they're
Yeah.
not.
There's still
they're
a
not their
there
own.
would still be a creator behind all of it.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how far back you go.
But
Yeah.
how do we know that it doesn't just go on forever and there was no start?
Well, there had to be something
Everything
to
that
start.
exists had to
No,
start,
according to
or it's
their own-
infinite.
According to the rules you just listed, it could have just been going on forever because the person that started it. could
It's a
have just
time loop.
been-
No, because even
Infinity
evolutionists believe that there had to be something that kicked off everything.
Yeah, we're not talking about evolution.
But what I'm saying though is stop messing with that.
Oh, we're not. I think we lost Hayden.
We're having
The thing popped out.
technical issues.
This is unfortunate.
This is.
We may have to have our first uncut truth episode.
now?
Don't bang it because everybody's listening to you bang it.
Okay, so where were we?
But
Where
anyways,
were we?
so even evolutionists who don't believe in God will understand that there had to be something that started
The
everything,
prime mover.
right? And so
First cause.
with this,
I'm ready.
logic says, even if you're a simulation theorist, logic says something had to start the process. You can't just have just one day a computer program just
power- the
like
computer
a
powers
simulation
on.
just started. Like
Yeah, that's exactly why.
randomly.
That's exactly why I think it can't be possible. Because if we go all the way back to the very first one, that could also just be a simulation created by something else. So it can't. It's gonna
No,
go on
it's
forever. It's
Not if you go all the
possible.
way to the first. We're
No,
saying the
the base
first,
reality.
The one who, yeah,
But in the base reality, they
that
could be
starts-
speculating.
base
What if we're in
reality
a
could
what
be
if
a
we're in a
simulation.
simulation?
But if base
We
reality,
could be the base
When you-
reality.
but there is the chance when you look at the odds statistics, we're 1 in a billion that it's us. Eventually, there's gonna be that 1 in a billion. You know what I mean? Like that's the first.
yeah, like there has to be something that starts it. And if they might be speculating, maybe we're in a simulation, but they're not. Just like we speculate, we might be in a simulation, but we're not. So, you know. But the thing
You're
is,
freaking
too,
me out, David.
Are we not?
the thing is, too, is when you look at it, simulation theorists believe that at some point, the simulation gets dumber and dumber as it goes down, right? So the original, whatever it was, created an intelligent simulation who created a slightly less intelligent simulation, which created a slightly less, right? Because as it goes forward, intelligence begins to diminish, right? Because you can only pass so much down into a simulation. In which case, some people think that we are the dumbest of the simulations because we don't have another simulation that we've already created.
Sims.
No, this is why we need to get on it.
That's
'cause
what
we
I
know
keep
we're at
saying.
the bottom of the barrel.
We don't want to be the dumbest simulation. Hayden brought up, go ahead,
What did I bring up?
The Sims.
What about The Sims?
I thought you said that's what I brought up, or that's what I
Yeah,
said.
we
Oh,
created The Sims. So we're
But
not
the
the
That's
Sims
our
don't work
simulation.
because the Sims we have to control.
Yeah.
So
Like
that's-
when we
that's
turn
part
off
of the
our
idea of
computer or
simulation
whatever.
theory.
Huh?
That's part of the idea of simulation theory is
Is
that
they
somebody
don't control
created
us.
a code for us. So have you seen the movie Free Guy with
Yeah,
Ryan Reynolds?
I love
Okay.
Free Guy.
Okay. So in that simulation that they created, they also somehow gave these
Sentient.
codes
NPCs.
free will.
Yeah.
Well, that was through like self-awareness. You know, basically the computer became.
Self-aware.
Okay,
sentient.
so essentially we could have become self-aware and we had free will and same thing.
Right, but the point of simulation theory, though, as far as I understand it, is that they're not controlling us. They created a simulation and then they observe it, like how it plays out.
Basically, yeah. Like if
Right.
you wanted to know, like a quantum computer, they could take in. If they want to know how something's going to play out, you could run
Like
500,000 simulations and be like, well, it always ended up like this. Or
Yeah.
we
this is
do
what
we do
happened.
flight simulations and emergency situation
Right.
simulations.
So,
too.
like in this particular simulation, they wanted to see how the world was destroyed in whatever, right? So they put in all the coding, and then they're like, "Oh, well, there's the Holocaust. Oh, well, there's this. Oh, well, in the next simulation, that won't be in there.
They're
They'll
like, "Man,
change it
humans
all."
suck.
So, like the same actors, the same or same people technically, but like with different roles or different things, so that certain things change. So it's basically just endless.
okay.
Which then brings us to the next part, which on our level of the simulation, there could be 5 other simulations happening at the same time. So we're not having this conversation in the simulation to the right of us. We're snowboarding or whatever, right? Or we
Okay.
never even met each other because it's playing out in a different,
The multiverse.
which is the multiverse.
Multiverse. It brings in a whole different theory.
Whole different
I think we can all agree on that one.
I'm probably not a skinny white guy just going through life in the other one. I'm Elon Musk in that one.
Not a bad deal.
Yeah, but I want to be Elon Musk in this one.
Everyone does.
Oh man.
You're right.
So there's more support that they give for, and I say support very loosely. There's more support that they give for their theory. One of those happens to just be like the entire idea of coincidences. So like there was somebody talking. He talked about how he was having a conversation with either his girlfriend or his wife, whichever it was. They were walking down the street and they had mentioned something about Princess Diana, right? And then like 10 minutes later, they saw a Princess Diana shirt that somebody was wearing. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's such a coincidence. And then same thing, same guy. He calls up a friend and he's talking with her. And she's talking about how she's making hot dogs for her family for dinner, right? And that's very unusual for them. And again, this is all like, how do I know you're telling the truth?
Right.
Right. But like, this is the support he gave. So I calls up my friend, and she says she's making hot dogs for dinner for her family. It's very unlike them. They don't usually have hot dogs. They think they're pretty gross, so they rarely ever have them. She's making the hot dogs. While he's on the phone with her, she gets a phone call from her son, and he says, hey, I want hot dogs for dinner. They never have hot dogs, but her son calls and says he wants hot dogs for dinner. While all this is happening, the guy is eating a hot dog. And so that's reasoning that they use for simulation theory. It's like, oh, whoever's running the simulation is messing with us.
That just sounds
Or
like
they're
a
running out of
coincidence.
ideas or something.
Or you all just like the night before saw an ad for hot dogs and decided
That's
like
the
it's
thing is
stuck
they're
in
not
your brain.
they're not applying any sort of like
Rational thinking.
rational psychology that we've learned for years and years based on study. Is that that's the thing with like a lot of magic tricks. People say they're reading people's mind, right? They'll give them all these clues, like mental clues, to get them to say or pick a certain thing. And they're just like completely eliminating that. And they're like, oh yeah, it's
I don't know. I think the hot dog theory kind of holds water.
only if they were boiled. That was
Top
horrible.
peak comedy. we've achieved it.
Here, I'll
Oh man, that joke should run on Comedy Central. That was horrible.
I don't know. I think it could be possible. I don't think it is, but I think
I just want to clarify. I don't think it is, but it could be.
I do. I
Anything
mean,
could be
once
possible.
I think that once that technology is available,
That we could create a
that we
simulation.
can do it, and you could either make it or observe it or interact with it.
So almost like artificial intelligence. Like if we created a robot that was smart enough to have free will.
Almost like Ready Player One, something like that.
Okay,
where,
yeah.
Like totally immersed, feeling it.
Oh, I think that's absolutely,
so like Matrix
absolutely
style,
possible.
Ready Player One.
So if that's possible to where you could lose yourself in that, become completely immersed, then it's possible it's already happening.
That would mean that are we at 8 billion?
We're at 8 billion.
Right
officially.
at 8 billion people have all completely lost their entire sense of actual
No,
reality
no,
and
no,
are
no.
plugged
No,
into
no,
a
no.
simulation right now.
No, you would be with NPCs, the non-player characters.
So technically,
So you're fake and I'm real.
I'm the only real one in the room.
Or
You
or
just-
That's the hero pawn.
No,
Yeah,
like I
could-
said, you can spot them. They're out there, and y'all know what I'm talking about. Go to Walmart.
They're the guys that are running into the wall over and over. They're the guys who just say the same thing over and over again.
I have to shake my head like, there's no way that guy's real, Sam.
Oh.
This got derailed.
Oh, I'm glad we all agree finally that it could be real.
No.
anything
Incorrect.
could be real.
Hold on, isn't that we were talking about string theory? Is that anything could possibly happen, right? Like any outcome.
I don't know how that relates.
You
to
really
string
think
theory,
anything
but
could be real?
if you can't disprove it, it could be real.
Never mind.
But isn't string theory that literally anything could be real, or there's any possible? No, that's not.
No, string theory is that there is a universe where that thing already happened, whatever it is.
So
What was it?
What?
string theory is where there is a universe, a multiverse universe, where
Okay.
if it could have happened, it's already happened.
Somewhere
so
else though.
in our universe, there is no simulation happening, but there is a universe out there somewhere where simulation theory is real.
Man, this is messed up.
String theory is also ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah, those guys are
I
kooks.
believe it.
So you can explain why?
A simulation
I'm-
theory,
no,
guys,
I'm-
Yeah, enough of this string theory talk.
Are you going to explain
No,
why
let's
string
just
theory?
get back to the conversation at hand. We don't need to.
To derail it to string theory. String theory is interesting to me, though.
I'm curious about it now. Come on.
Fix your microphone.
Give me a little bit of string theory. We're having some serious technical difficulties. I apologize.
You know what? It's the programmers don't
That's
want us
good.
talking about this, and so
We're
it's
like,
not
we can't be found
coincidence
out.
that this is the one episode where that messes up. They just don't want us talking about
Oh
this.
my
says-
goodness.
String theory in physics. String theory is a theoretical framework in which the point-like particles of particle physics are replaced by one-dimensional objects called strings.
What?
I don't know.
What?
Yeah.
It's
So-
it's basically a multiverse theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Where?
But if it exists, then there is a universe where it doesn't exist.
and if it doesn't exist, there's a universe where it does exist.
What?
Just infinite realities.
Infinite realities with
Again,
infinite possibilities.
50-50 chance, just like simulation theory.
No, that's not even 50-50. That just doesn't make sense. When you get to a place where there's a paradox, it just can't
Well,
happen.
is there a place where string theory doesn't exist?
What?
That's why string theory
That-
can't exist.
That's why it doesn't exist.
Yeah, okay.
Because if it's real, that means there's a place where it doesn't exist, which means it can't exist.
And look, this is the place where it doesn't exist.
We are the
We are the
reality in all
exception.
of the multiple realities where string theory doesn't exist, where simulation theory doesn't exist.
Oh my
Where
goodness.
Where birds are actually birds. Believe it or not.
Every other universe, they're not real. But here,
I will say though,
that's hilarious.
every time I see birds now, though, I
You
think
can't
about
stop
our
thinking
conversation about it
birds aren't real.
100%.
I did have
Like,
one outside my house just staring at me.
on Sunday we were coming, so
I
we
love
on
it.
Old 99, and so you go underneath that overpass,
And there's just a ton of
and there's
doves
always a
or
ton
pigeons.
of pigeons up
Yeah.
there, and I'm like, there were no baby pigeons.
I did not see a
I didn't
single
see a
baby
single
pigeon up
baby
there.
pigeon or an egg.
Yeah.
Although my dad actually does raise pigeons.
Uh,
So, I mean, he's seen them hatch. Well, I don't know if he's seen them hatch, but he's seen them before and
so
right
there's
after
some
they
covert.
You don't have to prove birds again.
I think we can actually agree that birds don't exist.
Okay,
That
this
bird-
is
Birds do exist.
doing
wildly off topic, but baby pigeons are hideous.
That's why nobody sees them.
They are the
The
ugliest.
palm is like, don't know. Just
They're
come
the
back in a month.
ugliest things ever. Their eyes are like gigantic, and they don't have feathers. They basically have like
It's just
little
like
bits of tangled
skin
up
and
fur
bone,
almost
yeah.
that stick out, and they like look like spines
Yes,
almost.
I'm looking up baby pigeons.
Oh, it's horrifying. If you have a free moment right now, if you're not driving, look
Oh
up baby
my-
pigeons. They're they're horrifying.
Yeah, I don't want to see that anymore.
So the last example I have that somebody gave supporting simulation theory. I forgot what we were talking about for a second.
Well, yeah,
Supporting
because we've only
simulation
been
theory
with like every other topic.
was the lunar eclipse.
Which one?
I saw this one too.
Doesn't make any sense because the reasoning that they give is that it just doesn't make sense that a moon that is so much smaller than the sun, I think it's like 400 times smaller, they said in the video, is able to completely cover up the sun. Think about this.
If you're listening and you're not watching on YouTube, my dad literally just face palmed.
I am not good at science.
Yeah.
I'm not. Math, science, net, whatever. There's people out there that do that kind of thing. I don't need to, right? They create stuff so that I can use calculators.
Exactly.
Right. But even I understand how the moon can block out the sun.
The moon is
And I'm not an intelligent human.
the moon is only 238,900 miles away from the Earth. I googled that.
Okay.
The sun is 92.96 million miles away.
Okay.
If you put a toddler in front of Andre the Giant and you moved Andre the Giant back far enough, the toddler would then cover up Andre the Giant.
Well, by that logic, when yeah, so you put your hand
Exactly.
and cover the sun. It's like, oh, there's a plane. Oh, where'd the sun go?
I think what is it? Our moon is the only moon that actually does a full eclipse like that. Like,
Because
no-
it just is the only moon that
it's
goes
like
directly in the
I don't
path of
remember.
our vision.
Well, I don't
right?
remember the equation, but it's like 400 times smaller and 400 times the distance, so it works out perfect. Where it lines up.
Whereas, like your moons of Jupiter are farther
A lot
away
farther
from the
away.
sun, or
Off-candid, the
so,
axis,
like,
whatever they spin
yeah.
on. And
Yeah, but they also have way more moons than we do. So maybe they all
have,
bunch up.
So they should have an eclipse then.
They have more of a chance at an eclipse.
Right.
But God's like, nah.
Nuts.
What?
What does this have to do with what we're talking about?
I'm trying to remember how he
Has to do
related
with-
it back.
Now we're talking
Yeah,
about
but
it.
yeah, why
That's
does
how-
this? Yeah, why? It's true. I totally forgot that was an expense.
It was tied in with the whole coincidence thing. They were like, "Oh, what are the chances of the moon covering up the sun?" They use faulty science, basically.
very faulty. Like,
But is that popular? Or is that just some guy? Because I'm sure we could find a bunch of people that try to prove God with just insane theories.
As far as I know, that was just some guy.
Okay.
either way,
So
That
Bill
one
thinks-
specifically-
he's a moron. I'm just gonna say it. Like, he's a moron. I'm pretty
Like-
sure that my nephew, who He's not the brightest person at this point. In his defense, he's 6.
He's 6, okay?
He's 6.
6 years old.
But even, I'm sure he would be like, oh, the sun's gone. Like, hold on his hand.
It's a giant game of peekaboo.
I mean, he would stare at the sun probably, but I just like, oh. Even he gets it. He doesn't understand all the science, but he understands like you can still cover up the sun because of how far away it is.
Yeah. The guy's not on a TED Talk. I mean, it's just some guy. You know?
Yeah.
Funny enough, the other video I watched was a guy on the TED Talk.
You watched
Bunch
a
of
TED
them.
Talk about simulation theory?
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
Guy was like, it was a younger guy too. It was really, he looked like he was fresh out of
It's
college
like-
probably.
Generation Z, X, whatever.
You know, the sad thing is,
What
that
about
I
him?
think he was in my generation.
Which is which generation?
I don't know. But he was right. He was maybe a couple years older than I was.
So sad.
Yeah.
So sad. I feel
Hey,
like.
Corey, that's you too. You're only a few years older than I am.
It would, you know,
Yeah, are you closer? I think he's closer to my age than your age.
It doesn't matter how close he is in age. It's just-
Okay.
10 years,
when
right?
I
10
met
years.
Corey, he was like 28 or 29, and he will forever be 28 or 29. That
Okay.
age is locked in.
young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed guy.
That's because of his skin and hair. That's
Yeah,
why.
it's-
That's
yeah. You guys ever thought about that? Like when you meet somebody, it's like their age just gets locked in.
well, like your parents. I feel like your parents are never old people. Like you make fun of them for being old, but like, but you always still just picture
I
them.
wouldn't make
Be
fun of my
honest.
dad
You-
for being old.
No one
You
asked
do all the time.
like, and I make fun of my parents for being old too. But like when I think about them, though, I still think about like
When they were young.
when they were in their prime, and we're like, I'm a teenager, and we're running around doing stuff. All the, like I
Yeah.
just like, hey, let's go do this. And my dad's like, oh, let's not. I'm like, why can't you do that? Oh, that's right. You're 30 years older than I remember you being. Like,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, that
It's
makes
trippy. Again, I think we kind of derailed, but
Oh,
I'll take the I'll
we
take the blame
definitely
for that
were
one.
So
I'll take the
far
blame
off
for
of
that
what
one.
computer anything.
I'll take
Simulation.
it a step farther. I think the simulation theory could finally explain the Mandela effects.
There's a movie about that.
Is there?
He's
Is it
on
called
the side.
Mandela Effect?
There's a movie called The Mandela Effect, and at the very end, the
Oh.
entire world just like disappears in the binary code.
Really?
You gotta
Interesting.
look it
that
up.
up.
It's actually, I mean, it's a pretty good movie.
Again, people
gone.
watching sci-fi videos. Way too many sci-fi
That's-
movies.
But, and so
Did you get the comment? You'll have to re-say it. There's a movie called The Mandela Effect.
Really?
Yeah.
Cut that in, Corey. Never heard of such a movie.
I need to watch this film.
it's actually a really good movie. Did we
Oh
cover
my
all the pieces that we said?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, that's hilarious.
So the Mandela effect is specifically tied to simulation, right? To simulation theory, because the Mandela effect occurs because the
We're glitching.
level above us is either changing code or the code is glitching, or is the code like interacting, like bumping into the other simulation happening in the plane next to us.
I think it would
Oh,
be.
whoopsies.
I think it'd be more
Punch my
like
mic.
anytime there's an error, like with a computer, you know, you get a bug, they fix it, and it would cause a glitch. And
So Curious George
reality.
having a tail was a bug, like it wasn't
Pikachu having black on his tail, or
the
The
Berenstain
Monopoly
Bears.
Man having a
Berenstain
monocle.
Bears. Or when did Bambi's mother die in the movie?
At the very beginning.
Nope.
She was gone.
No,
it's
she
like-
gets shot.
Yeah.
She gets shot in the woods.
not in the beginning.
Well,
It's
in
not
the
like
beginning. No,
immediately
'cause
in the
she has to
beginning. She
teach
spends
him
a
all
little
the
bit of time
stuff.
with him.
Yeah, she has to teach him all
It's
the
like
stuff. At
almost
the
done
end.
by the time she dies.
Yeah, she dies at the very end because that's when Dad finally shows up. You know, absent father, and it's
I
like,
No
remember
way.
her dying.
Feels
in
like
the-
gonna take
yeah,
care
in
of
the
you now.
beginning.
No way.
Go watch it.
Okay, hold on. You're telling me that the entire movie wasn't just Bambi, Thumper, and Flower running around, and he finally
No, and
meets
then
his
the
dad
girl
later
one,
on.
The girl
Will
one.
you go watch
Oh,
it.
that was. Oh snap!
Fawn.
Or the
don't know,
queen
whatever
from
girl.
Snow White, when she looks in the mirror, what does she say?
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all?
She doesn't say that.
What does she
Magic
say?
mirror on the wall. Who's the
It
fairest?
says
of them all?
magic mirror.
Oh.
Okay, so one word difference. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, also
That millions of
Luke,
people
I am
remember.
your father.
Yeah, Luke, I am your father.
It's no. I am.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
No Luke.
No,
It's-
there's Luke isn't in the phrase at
It's
all.
just no. I am your
Oh.
father.
Yeah.
Which I think even James Earl Jones in an interview one time misquoted it because he remembered it that way for a brief second or whatever.
That's trippy.
I also don't believe in the Mandela effect either. Though I'm just saying.
Yeah,
how do you not believe in it? It's a real thing that happens.
Well, that's just people's like memory, though. Like a problem with their memory.
Again, that's
Yeah.
psychology.
And it's not
Bunch
weird
of
binary code.
skeptics.
It's not weird weird conspiracy something is happening. It's just our memory doesn't always remember things the way it didn't change. Like Curious George didn't have a tail and then all of a sudden didn't have a tail, or did and then didn't. It didn't just automatically change. It was always the same way. Just because we remember it different and other people also remembered it that way doesn't mean that it was reality.
And think about it
Well-
too, again, I'm going to reference the Monopoly Man, right? When you're playing the game of Monopoly, your focus isn't on the Monopoly Man. It's on the money, it's on the pieces on the board, it's on your piece, you're rolling the dice. Your focus is not on the Monopoly Man himself, right? So a lot of the times, this isn't always what happens, but a lot of the times people will end up showing two pictures next to one another, right? With the one small difference, which is the monocle in this case, and immediately you start to think, okay, which one was right? And then you start thinking, okay, there's supposed to be a really, really rich guy. He must have a monocle.
He
And
has
then
the top
you-
hat and the monocle,
exactly.
yeah.
So you give reasoning for it. And again, that's not all the time.
And
but a
Curious
lot of the
George
time.
has a tail because he's a monkey.
Yeah.
And monkeys have tails, unless you're Curious George.
Unless he's a chimp.
Chimps don't have tails.
I can't remember that. Does he have a tail?
He does not.
He
does
does
not.
not have a tail.
Okay.
Yeah. So either it got docked when he was a little baby, or he's a chimp.
He's a
It's
chimpanzee.
a
But he doesn't
horrible
look like a
accident.
chimp.
It's a whole,
He looks
it was a whole episode.
That's true. He does look like a cartoon.
You had to take that one out.
I think the Mandela effect is more the main theory behind that is the Large Hadron Collider. I can never say it. The particle accelerator over in Switzerland.
Oh.
They're it's like a mile long.
Is that like from Flash?
I don't know.
They do have one in
But
Flash.
they're
Okay.
speeding up particles past the speed of light and firing them into each other. Just to see what happens. They're doing these random things.
Let's just
The,
see.
the guys are on the other side of 2-inch glass. They're like, that'll protect us.
But back to what David's saying, though, is people believe that when that fired up, when they started doing this, that's when things started changing.
I will say that in July they fired it up, and there have been, since they stopped pre-COVID, there have not really been any Mandela effects. They fired up in July, and shortly after, all these new ones.
What was
started popping
COVID?
up. What?
No, I'm just kidding.
It was a virus in our
Remember COVID.
computer
What do you-
programming.
COVID was never a thing. It was the flu.
Weird.
different topic. Okay. Anyways, can you give an example of a new Mandela effect that happened recently?
Yeah, Fruit Loops changed back.
Changed back.
What?
What?
What do you mean?
I mean, it changed back. So
Elaborate.
To what?
Even Corey can't hold it anymore. He's dying back.
Fruit Loops, and I remember because I argued with Taryn one time on the phone about
Weird.
If it was 00 or UI?
how it used to be 00 growing
Okay.
up, and I was arguing with him that it said fruit. It was actually spelled like fruit, and I said when I was a kid there was 2 O's.
Man, this is messing with my head already.
And then a couple months ago, what did I call you up? Ranting and raving, probably. It's back.
The 00.
And I even have there's a podcast I listen to where I heard it from, and you can go back and listen to their old podcasts where they're talking about it, how it switched, and now it's back. So it's just weird.
See,
stuff.
my entire thinking as soon as you bring that up, though, is oh, it's a kid's cereal. But they probably spelled it with a 00 to be funny. That's where my entire... And then, if you look at the candy Tutti Fruities, that's a 00.
And
That's
Tricks
basically like a Tootsie
is
Roll.
TRICKS.
No.
It's not X?
No.
Just kidding.
Okay. Oh, my gosh.
Everybody's like, hold it.
Hold on.
What?
What is reality?
A simulation.
Was Cole Sprouse Zach or Cody?
Was what?
Cole
I
Sprouse?
think he was
Cole
Cody.
Sprouse?
Yeah. There's Dylan and Cole Sprouse. They're the twins on Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Dylan was Zach, right? Had to be.
Nerds.
Not my generation, right? This is the
Oh,
one
yeah,
below
that's
me.
fair. Yeah, you're right.
Really?
Yeah, you're right.
Nice.
Yeah. Man, that's weird. That's messing with my mind.
But my point is that it's not made by some coders. It's not made by, or it doesn't randomly change. It legitimately is just people's memories. We remember things different, and just because somebody else, I just surround myself with people who remember things the same way that I do, doesn't mean that.
Clearly, you don't.
No, I don't. I'm always just out here by myself, talking logical, and
Talking logical.
speaking logical,
That's
whatever.
an oxymoron.
Talking good. And
And When I said it, I heard it, but I was just hoping to move past it quickly, and then nobody else would catch it.
Yeah.
Oh, we did though.
But anyways,
They put you on blast.
yeah, I am just over here, just like y'all are crazy, but then you all come together and think that it's reality.
I don't think it's real.
Oh, thank goodness.
I've been arguing
I'm
against
in
it this whole
agreement.
time.
I'm in agreement.
That
What?
it's not real.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
fake.
it's just David. Never
No,
mind.
I'm in
David's the one that's.
I'm in
by
agreement that
himself.
it's not real,
Oh, okay.
but it could be.
What if you found out with the whole Nelson Mandela? No, just Mandela effect. That's funny.
Well, it is based off of Nelson Mandela, though.
But like you just find out these companies just do it to screw
Just
with people.
randomly change stuff.
They
to-
just start to flip stuff randomly.
wonder
Like,
that.
But the
like
problem with that,
Coca-Cola
though,
used
like-
to be
like,
COCO.
But you
Double
can't
stuffed
do that
Oreos?
because then
Look
at
at that
some
one.
point, like
What about double stuffed Oreos?
They spell it really weird. And I can't remember if it's FT. Remember we talked about one
we
day.
did talk about those.
What?
What stuff?
It's not stuffed?
It's not
Stuffed?
SUFF.
I'm looking it up.
Okay, we got to Google this.
Anyways, the point he was about to make was eventually somebody would have an old Coca-Cola bottle or something that had the
Oh.
previous spelling, so we would know without a
yeah.
doubt if it
Yeah.
was changed.
Yeah.
I'm just-
So
I just threw out an
if
example.
they were
I've never
just
heard of
cha-
that.
Yeah,
before.
but
Okay,
you know, I'm just going along with it.
thank you.
so double stuff is just double STUF. Double stuff Oreos.
Oh, it's not double stuffed
Not it's just STUF.
with one F?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they can't spell. That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't. That
It's
I
not
doesn't-
don't
it's not a-
understand.
it's not a-
because you would think the more
Or there was
Fs,
a
the more
glitch
stuff.
in the matrix.
And then there's mega stuff STUF.
I really don't like that.
Okay.
He's never gonna.
I
know what
really
he was
don't
gonna
like
You
say.
know,
that.
it's just your brain telling you read it wrong a million times.
Yeah, probably. Oh
Well, I
my
think
goodness.
Really, our brain does do things like that, and like,
Yeah.
it finishes words that aren't like. Have you ever seen those things? Where like, if you can read this, you're part of the 1%, which is obviously
Bogus.
not true because
It's like
I'm not part of it.
99%
They
actually.
wanna
Just
make you
because
feel good.
can't read it.
Just because I never learned how to read doesn't.
I learned to read
Doesn't mean I don't have a heart.
You went to the Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good and stuff.
and stuff. Center for ants. Anyways,
Terrible tragedy of that at school. Those poor kids.
this episode is all over the place. That's for
This might be our
is pretty
most
fun,
off
though.
the wall episode,
Oh, for sure. We had a mic failure multiple times, and
and like 17 different topics of conversation.
all spurring from
simulation theory.
simulation theory,
Oh yeah.
which I don't even know. I don't understand because educated people believe in stuff like this. Educated people probably really did believe the birds weren't real. Educated people like would fall into that.
17 people believe that bird.
I'm just saying, I don't understand how educated people can be so stupid.
I think it all ties back into they don't want to say that God exists. I think it all ties
I think a
into
lot
that.
of people, yeah, it's
I think the Bible talks about how we fool ourselves. I think. I'm not going to quote a scripture, so just in case. but-
Could be another Mandela effect thing.
well, I wonder if there's any Mandela effects of the Bible.
oh,
Probably is.
Misquoted scripture.
Oh, yeah. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's right there in Hebrews.
right there.
I thought that was right after John baptized Jesus that they said that.
Would make sense.
It would make sense.
He comes up out of the water. That's the first thing he said. Or rather, when the dove comes down, instead of saying you're my son in whom I'm well pleased, he says cleanliness is next to godliness. So everybody needs to do this.
Do
this.
Yes,
he said that.
I did say this.
Do this.
Man, that makes me feel icky on the inside.
Making jokes about the Bible. How dare you?
Oh my goodness. What are you looking for right now?
He's looking for the verse that he's trying not to quote incorrectly.
Yes, I see.
Let no man deceive himself. If any man thinketh that he is a wise among you in this world, let him become a fool, that he may become wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. It's the only one that I can think of.
Okay.
We're a fool.
All right.
But I do think that we, like you were saying, we try so hard to not believe in God that we're willing to believe literally anything else.
Not us
No, yeah,
specifically.
not us.
Not us at this table. Not Corey. But people who believe in simulation theory.
Or anything.
Humans.
Scientology,
Yeah.
Mormonism, Jehovah. I mean, any of the stuff we
Spaghetti
tried to
monster.
just, spaghetti monster. I mean, literally anything that says God isn't what He actually is. We want it so bad to not be real that we'll attach ourselves to the stupidest of ideas, which is sad in one sense that we're willing to just brainwash our own selves.
What's really scary is that there's a lot of people who say that they're Christian, they believe that they're Christian, and they'll start buying into stuff like this.
Yeah.
This happened in the Old Testament, I think, with Judah and Canaanites, I want to say, when they started adopting part of their worship. And it basically got so out of line, they got so disconnected that they said that they were worshiping God, yet they were still creating idols that they could use basically as symbolism.
Right.
They're still not supposed to do. But in their heart, they said, I'm just worshiping God. It's getting all tangled up, and it's kind of scary.
I think people can, if they want to believe it, I don't think it affects their faith. I mean, God can be real and a simulation be real at the same time. Like, they're not mutually exclusive.
How?
Because everything you believe could be present outside of the simulation. Still God.
So Jehovah God still exists, even though I'm in a simulation. But then, how am I going to find salvation? Am I going to go to heaven?
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
like,
if I'm
we
in a
die,
simulation,
we
then
just
So
disappear.
my
There's
soul
no
isn't real. I don't have a
repercussions, right?
soul. I don't have
Well, we
any
don't know.
eternal spirit. I don't have anything. I'm just computer code. So
If you're
even if
computer
God
code.
does, so think about this. If the Sims, even though it's not technically sim, if the Sim dies, but God is real, does the Sim go like? And I'm like,
Go to
this
heaven?
Sim is a Christian. He goes to church,
I think
and
if
he
God-
dies. Like, I just brutally kill him. He gets run over by a semi or something because whatever reason. And then I'm like, oh, well, now that Sim is in heaven. Like real heaven
I
because
think if
God
God
is real.
liked that sim.
Because God has favorites, right?
He chooses.
So, I mean,
Jesus
so, I
with
mean
Sims.
technically, theoretically, God could be real and a simulation exists. But for those who are in
Well,
the simulation,
God has to be real either way.
right. But what I'm saying, for those of us who are in the simulation, that doesn't mean anything to us. Because we have
Unless it's more of the Matrix type of theory where you're plugged into it.
so
Would your time in this virtual reality, I'm going to call it VR because you're plugged into something. So would your time in the virtual reality tell you whether or not you're going to heaven or hell when you finally get disconnected from the VR? Like how you behaved inside of the virtual
Jack the
reality.
Ripper in the
like-
VR simulation. But
Yeah.
outside of the VR simulation, I'm a really good
I'm a good guy.
Going along that, if it were true, yeah, I definitely think your actions, I mean, it's your heart doing it. So, I mean, yeah, you had that in your heart to do
But
it.
you
so,
didn't. You thought it was fake,
yeah,
right?
you thought it was real.
No, you think that
When you
it's
got
real.
out
You
of it,
think,
you
no,
would
this
have to
is-
do some, like, repentance and be like, oh, what was I doing?
Oh, silly me.
Silly me. I killed so many computer
I
programs.
think for God to be real and simulation theory to be real, God is only relevant to the creators of the initial simulation. Right. So if we actually are in a simulation, even if he is real, it doesn't matter because it doesn't affect us at all. Right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because my soul, if I die, if I get ran over by a semi, if the simulation crashes, whatever, I'm just not, I'm non-existent. I'm just
No.
ones and zeros.
Do you
so,
think that would push you right now to believe one way or the other? Where, well, if it is a simulation, then I'm not real, so it can't be.
well, no, because I don't believe we're in a simulation.
Oh, I'm just saying.
So, I mean, I guess if I did believe that this was a simulation, I would also believe that God wasn't real.
Really?
Yeah.
See, there still has to be that first cause, though.
Which would be the God, I guess.
The creator would have someone that created him.
Yeah, but see, if I really dove into believing simulation theory was real, because no simulation theorist that I came across believes that we're the first simulation,
Right.
right? There's so many before us and so many level with us. In which case, even if I really did truly believe simulation theory, the creator of the created me isn't really God, because there's somebody who created them, which is somebody who created them. So none of those are God until we
For
go back
infinity.
for infinity. So, like, God means nothing at that point.
So is your official stance, if you believe in simulation theory, you're not saved? Never mind.
Nobody wants to make that final like.
I think you're insanely confused.
I think that you're
I'll just
insanely
say that.
confused.
I think you're
Yeah.
very, very, very confused.
Not me, because I don't believe it.
Well, not you specifically.
Right.
But I might in the future.
Right.
I just don't see. I don't see. I just. I don't see why.
Why?
Why? Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
You could say that about anything almost. I mean, why?
Well, you. Well, yeah.
Who?
I think if you really truly believe in Scripture and you truly believe that God is relevant to you, you cannot believe in simulation theory.
What if God was the one doing it? What if he chose to make our reality as that?
If he was the only,
So he is the computer programmer.
Pretty much, yeah, God, the creator. I guess.
if he's the only one
don't know why I
outside of this reality,
Misquoted the wrong one. God.
if
Whoops.
if God is the only one outside of this reality and he's still the creator, if you still believe that Satan exists, demons exist, angels exist, and that we are the only simulation, then I just call that Christianity.
Yeah.
Pretty much. He created us. We're out here living our life.
Yeah.
Like, we're just not ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That's how. Okay, cool. Yeah, I wouldn't call you a simulation theorist. I would just call you a Christian at that point. But or you're just unwilling to say that it's God still.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, then
Or
You're
you could just say
stubborn.
that
Yeah.
God created us as a computer and just mix the two.
But again, though,
That's what
if
I'm
he
saying,
created
a-
us as a computer,
two-dimensional
then
being
everything we believe is
projected.
pointless.
yeah.
Right?
What?
Because
No.
Well, because as a computer, how am I still going to go to heaven?
Because he just take you to heaven.
Yeah.
How?
If you
We
if-
wouldn't have a
How
consciousness.
does he do it in general? I mean, he's God.
Yeah. Like I feel like you're put do whatever he wants to do. So
I feel like there wouldn't be any sort of spiritual aspect in us whatsoever.
Yeah,
Why
because
not?
we're
If
just
we were in
ones
a
and
computer.
zeros. Can you put a spirit into a robot?
I'm sure God could.
If anyone
God
could.
can do anything.
Maybe you don't
Yeah.
think God can do anything, Taryn, but some of us do.
How does it always come back to
How
that?
did this get turned around?
Always.
I don't. Man, goodness gracious.
I think my personal stance is to truly believe that God is real and relevant in our life.
Mhm.
We're not in a simulation. You can't believe that.
My opinion is God is real and he's in our life, and we could be a simulation, but probably not.
That he created
Probably not.
Yeah.
with no other simulations.
Yet. Until we make them.
Until we make them. But we're obviously not getting very far on how long. I mean,
So if we
Look at-
developed
what are
a
you
free
talking about?
guy,
Look at video games.
if we developed a free guy though, where it was all interactive, they gained self-awareness or something like that, would that lessen your faith in God?
actually, to be honest, we do create simulations now.
Mhm.
They're just not as
I'm not
Interactive.
self-aware.
Advanced.
they're just not as advanced as us,
Mhm.
right? But we
Okay.
do create. I mean, people run simulations all the time
Mhm.
on what could or couldn't happen based on certain components or
Mhm.
factors, right? So technically, we just haven't created an advanced or
Okay, but if we
simulation.
did,
It was intricate, or,
Yeah, that like
probably comes down to computing power. Because what we were talking about, the
oh, that's
Dionosphere.
right. Yeah,
what
the
is-
Dionosphere.
Yeah.
We didn't even touch on that, where the power it would take to run all of the simulations.
If,
Mhm.
is
if the simulation
astronomical.
yeah.
if the simulation was playing all at once.
Yeah.
Because there's a theory that just whatever's being interacted with, like a video game.
So like we're just in the room and the rest of the world is just shut off. Basically.
Yeah, but as soon as we
Okay.
walk out the door,
Like
then,
starts
like
again.
rendering.
then what we can see is there. But like my house doesn't actually exist right now until I start getting closer and closer, and then it begins to render.
Just like any
see what
video
you're saying.
game.
Yeah, so
Maybe that's why we'd be limited by the speed of light. Can't go past it.
That's how that theory actually too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
I just thought of it.
they were like
He's
nice.
ahead of the game.
That's how smart I am,
said,
Taryn.
it said basically whatever game you're playing is limited by either the console or whatever unit you're using to play said game. So like if you have a janky old computer but you downloaded the newest version of World of Warcraft or something like that, you're going to have a lot of times where the game wants to load faster than a certain point, but the computer can only go so fast. And our so fast, air quotes around that, is the speed of light. That's why things can't like develop faster than that,
Makes
or
sense.
whatever.
I mean, it does make sense.
Yeah, what you're saying makes sense.
but it can't be
I don't
real.
think it proves simulation
Yeah.
theory.
We just know that it makes sense because we use it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? With video games, with movies, buffering, with whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that that's the reality we live in.
I'm just saying, I think you're all leaving here with maybe, could be a little more
No.
possible.
Definitely not.
No.
I saw it in your eyes.
There was a twinkle.
Wait, also, this just came to mind. That whole like, it doesn't render unless we, it's like see it.
Right.
That's the same thing as like if the tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Obviously, it makes a sound.
Does it?
Yes, it does.
Did you hear it? You didn't hear it.
Wow.
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 Hey,
He got you.
A 50-50 chance.
No, he did not get me.
Schrodinger's cat would disagree.
There's a 50
That's the same
No
argument,
sound.
I think. It's roughly the same argument. And I-
Schrodinger's cat and tree fall in the forest?
No, the rendering thing, it doesn't render unless we see it,
Right.
and it doesn't make a sound unless we hear it, but it does make a sound.
What's the cat
So,
thing you just
It
said?
does render.
Schrodinger's cat?
What is that?
Really?
Schrodinger?
Schrodinger.
Schrodinger?
Schrodinger. I don't know. I haven't
Schrodinger.
Schrodinger.
If you
I've
put a
heard
cat
it
in a
years,
box
Okay.
and then put something that would kill the cat in the same box and then close the
poison
box.
vial that would open
right,
up. Yeah.
right. And then close the box so you don't see it. You will never know if the cat's dead or alive because you can't see that the
Because
cat's
the
alive or dead.
the poison would kill the cat randomly. You have no idea, so you have to assume it's alive and dead both at the same time.
You just open the box.
No, but the
No,
point
the
is,
point
though,
is, if you don't open the box, it's both alive and dead.
yeah.
Of course you know it's going to die.
Maybe.
You just
But you don't know when.
What if the capsule outlives the cat's natural lifespan?
capsule? Like
So
the
there's
poison or
like a
whatever?
capsule
Okay.
of
Like a
poison,
poison
in
capsule.
there that at some point is expected to break because of the cat. But if the cat never breaks it,
Like it's going to play with it or something like that
yeah,
and then shatter the
or
glass?
sit on, whatever,
Okay.
I don't think it was dependent on it breaking. I think it was just at an undetermined time
it would just
break.
Yeah.
Same difference.
Or not.
Either way, though, did it break and did the cat die, or is it still?
So there's a
So
possibility
intact-
that it never breaks.
So until you
Yeah.
open the
Yeah.
box, you have to assume.
So
both.
yeah, so like the cat could be dead, it could be alive. I should take care of the box, not crush it in case the cat's alive, but the cat could also be dead.
Am I
So-
just taking care of a dead cat?
Yeah, but am I just
box?
so like it's
you
just,
start to smell something.
It's airtight.
but basically as long as the box is shut,
Yeah.
it's both dead and alive. You have to treat it like it's dead and alive. both
So
at
the
same
tree both makes a sound and doesn't make a sound because you weren't there to observe it.
time. Yeah,
It still makes a sound, David.
or it doesn't.
Or it
the
doesn't.
cat's
no,
dead.
not or it doesn't.
Or
it
it's
makes
not.
a sound.
When you can verify this, let me know.
But if I'm there, then I can't verify.
But
What
no
if I
one-
set up a camera that has audio
you're
on
still
it?
there.
But
I'm
you're
not
still
there.
technically there. Something
You're
is
still
there.
You hide
observing it.
from the tree, and the tree doesn't.
What if you're just like around the bend and listening?
Ghillie suit.
I'm hiding behind a different tree,
Jump in a
so
bush.
that tree doesn't see me.
What's Jeremiah doing? Oh, he's trying to find out if that tree's gonna make a sound.
Oh, if you're still watching this, thank you.
My stomach hurts. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, we have. I think we've gone far enough.
Yeah,
I think we're good there.
I think we've pushed it as long as we can.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching.
Hey, actually, though, this topic, maybe it's good. Maybe it's good this person doesn't
Yeah.
watch the podcast anymore, because if they did and we just butchered their topic completely.
Oh no.
Just got it completely wrong.
But this topic did come from somebody who watched the podcast. So my point on that is, if you want us to talk about something, let us know. Put it in the comments, do whatever, because we will talk about
Especially if it's funny. It makes it more fun to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
it. So anyways,
Which I appreciate.
leave us a comment. And push the buttons that you're supposed to push.
All the
This is
ones,
like
you know,
Or
you know.
don't, whatever.
You've seen
Or don't. It doesn't really matter to me.
It's a simulation, so it doesn't matter anyway.
It's kind of selfish to watch and not push the button.
Taking advantage of us. Oh my
Just
goodness.
using us at that point.
All right, thank you everyone and good night.
And good night.
Adios. Vaya con Dios.
I hope you got that.